Hello my friends! Today we're going to learn about a sinister creature that might end up showing up where you live. One night some kids were going to play a little soccer at a court in the neighborhood. This court was right next to a cemetery. Whenever they played soccer there, they were always afraid of kicking the ball and having it fall inside. When that happened, whoever kicked it had to go get it. But no one would go, and the soccer game would end right there. Until someone found another ball and continued the game. That day, it happened again. Jorginho kicked the ball way over there into the land of the dead, but he decided not to let the soccer game die and chose to go after it. The gate was already closed, so the only way in was to climb over the cemetery wall. Some friends helped lift him up so he could reach the top of the wall and get inside. It was really dark in there, man, and the guy was super scared, almost crapping his pants. He kept looking for where the ball could be until he found it and grabbed it. He felt it was a bit heavier, but didn't think much of it. He figured his body was just tired from the effort of climbing. Then he threw it to the other side and they resumed the game. But when his friend caught the ball and kicked it, he felt something strange. It felt like it weighed about 5 kilograms. They got closer to take a look, and it wasn't a soccer ball. It was something bizarre. It looked like a bunch of organic parts compressed into a ball shape. They got scared and accused Jorginho of having taken parts from someone dead in there. While they were arguing, the thing moved and started rolling in circles. It seemed like the organic ball wanted to play with them. The scary mood quickly faded and the boys started playing with the ball. Curiously, when they kicked it, it moved faster and adjusted itself.
Its path
towards the goal. It was the craziest thing, man. So, when everyone was happy scoring goals, Jorginho went to take a penalty kick. He picked up a lot of speed and hit it hard. The organic ball was faster than ever, and instead of going for the top corner, it went straight toward the goalkeeper's head. And you can probably imagine what happened next, right? It hit the boy straight on, and that was it. The ball fused with the boy's body and got bigger. It started rolling toward the others, running over everyone like a snowball, getting bigger and bigger. Known as Necrobol, this creature feeds on any living being and keeps growing more and more. Actually, this ball is just a part of the creature. Its real core is underground, usually in cemeteries where there's more flesh. These small autonomous balls that are released are part of its resource gathering strategy. So my friends, be careful if you live near a cemetery. There might be a Necrobol close to you ready to swallow you up. Guys, I released another comic in the store, Cartoon Cat vs. Siren. It's a story that takes place in a land destroyed by these bizarre creatures. And it shows the fight between these two titans. Who will be the winner of this battle? That's the big question we all want to know. And if you don't know, there's a story about Leo and Grandma. On an adventure against the forces of evil, children from the neighborhood are mysteriously disappearing. What could be happening? Will Leo and Grandma be able to solve this mystery? We have other comics too. Add the store's WhatsApp number and we'll be here to help you. One day a man was coming back from work. He worked at a bakery and was exhausted. There were a lot of orders that week. And all he wanted was to get home and relax with his family. He got off the bus and was walking toward his house. When a girl came out of an alley, she looked about 10 years old. She offered the man her candies. Without thinking twice, he refused. He said he was in a hurry. She insisted that he buy something, but he didn't want to and said, "Get out of here, girl. I don't want to buy your candies. Go home. This isn't a time for kids to be out on the street." Then she said the following: "If you don't buy my candies, you will suffer severe consequences." The man kept walking and the girl went back to the alley where she came from. Weird, these kids out on the street at this hour? Where are the parents that aren't seeing this? When he gets home, the man is greeted by his family. He leaves his backpack on the living room table and goes to take a shower to wash off the grime. His curious son goes to rummage through his backpack looking for something to eat. Since his dad worked at a bakery, right? There must be a cake or some candy in there. So the boy finds a little bag with candy inside and starts eating. At dinner, everyone is gathered around the table eating. However, the son has a strange look on his face. He asks, "Son, what's with that face? You haven't touched your food." "Did you eat junk food before dinner?" "Yes, Dad. I ate some candies that were in your bag." The man says he didn't buy any candy and gets nervous. He ran to his backpack and saw the little bag the girl was selling. He didn't understand how that ended up in his backpack. Suddenly his wife screams. He runs to see what's going on and his son is already gone. That was the punishment for not buying Candy Girl's candies. This girl used to sell sweets on the street to help her family with household expenses. She was always chased away by people whenever she tried to approach and sell something. It was rare for anyone to buy until one day she offered to a man. He was a violent guy. He didn't like it and ended up assaulting the girl. And she passed away. Justice never came to light. And since then, her soul still wanders through the urban centers, trying to make some money by selling her sweets. People who refuse to help her end up suffering the consequences. She gives poisoned candies or sweets to people who refuse. They might be drinking water or eating some food. Candy Girl will find a way for you to eat her poisoned sweets. To this girl, the person who refuses is just like her attacker. And so they need to be eliminated. So, my friends, be careful because Candy Girl might be near you selling sweets. A young woman, 24 years old, is walking through an alley in her city. She was carrying some gifts for her boyfriend because they were celebrating their anniversary. She saw a little antique shop and decided to go in. All the items had a price, but there was one that was in the corner of the shop, almost hidden. It was a mirror. He asked the shop assistant how much the item cost, but the old lady said that item had just arrived and wasn't for sale yet. She needed to analyze the item and set a price for it. Then the lady went to the bathroom and told the young woman to make herself comfortable. She looked at the mirror again and felt her desire to acquire it grow stronger and stronger. Then the young woman grabbed the mirror, threw $200 on the counter and took off. When she got home, she gave her boyfriend the gifts she had bought. He loved them and asked her what was in the bag. She showed him what she bought at the antique store and told him to hang that mirror on the bedroom wall. So after dinner they went to sleep. He started having strange nightmares. He felt there was someone else in the room besides the two of them. Then she wakes up and goes to the object she bought. She contemplates it and looks at her reflection for a while. She hadn't noticed, but the mirror has a different reflection now. In the dark, it seems like the image gets slightly blurry. Then she goes back to bed and sleeps. The next day, her boyfriend notices that she's not in bed. He goes to the kitchen and sees his girlfriend crouched in front of the fridge, eating everything inside. When he gets closer to talk to her, the young woman pushes him back. He gets scared and asks what happened. She doesn't say anything and acts like an animal. She almost seems like a beast. He thought it might be some kind of hormonal disorder with his partner. He got ready and went to work. At night, when he came back home, everything seemed normal and she was waiting for him to have dinner. He asked what happened earlier, why she was acting so strange. She didn't know what he was talking about. She said she woke up early and went for a run. When she came back, her boyfriend had already left. She scolded him for leaving the fridge open and food falling out. He didn't understand anything that was going on. At around 3 in the morning, he wakes up. He seems to have heard a noise. He looks to the side and sees his partner sleeping. So he goes to check. And when he gets to the kitchen, the woman is eating everything in the fridge again. How is she there when I just saw her in bed? Then the thing runs out, bumps into him, making him fall. He hits his head. A little, gets dizzy, and sees that the thing went to the bedroom. He tries to follow, and when he gets there, he only sees the mirror moving on the wall. and his girlfriend is in the same place sleeping. The man grabs the mirror, wraps it with a cloth, drives his car to a bridge in the city, and throws it into the river. To this day, he doesn't know what that was. But he has a small idea that it could have been something that came from the mirror. Hello my friends, today we're going to learn about a creature called Umbrella Eater. Imagine that you're in the middle of a heavy rain, without an umbrella, and out of nowhere, you find one. But if you choose to pick up this item, you'll be doomed to a terrible fate. November 2007, Rio de Janeiro. A man is coming back from work. It's around 10 at night. He's eager to get home and relax. However, it starts to rain. A heavy downpour. He didn't check the weather forecast before leaving home, and now he's caught by a torrential rain, man. Without his umbrella, he'll get home soaked. And even worse, he might get his work laptop wet, which is in his backpack. He decided to go anyway and walked under the eaves, dodging the water. Coincidentally, when he reached a corner, he saw an umbrella in the corner. He checks to see if it was broken, but apparently it was forgotten. And its owner won't come back to get it in this storm, right? So he picks up the item, opens it, and walks to his stop. He notices that the inside of the umbrella is dripping a little water. Well, the umbrella must have a leak, and that's probably why they threw it away. But it was still doing the job, right, man? So he kept going. But after a while, he noticed that the drops were starting to have a different color and smell, man. They had a greenish color, dude, and kind of a rotten smell. What is this? Man, then he looks up and sees a bizarre scene. It looked like the inside of a mouth, and the edges had sharp teeth. He gets scared and tries to throw the item away, but he can't. His hands are stuck, man. The liquid that dripped turned out to be sticky. In a matter of seconds, the umbrella closes, sinking in its teeth. It bites from the man's head down to his waist. Then the creature reveals itself. Umbrella Eater swallows the man easily, like an anaconda eats a deer. After a few minutes, there's no sign that a person was ever there. The creature will stay there, waiting to be picked up by someone who wants to protect themselves from the rain. And so the cycle continues. This creature appears on rainy days and takes advantage of people who need an umbrella. On days like this, it can consume up to approximately 6 adult humans. Since it doesn't rain all the time, it needs to store as many nutrients as possible for sunny days when it can't hunt. So my friends, be careful out there on rainy days, okay? Umbrella Eater might be waiting for you. Cruising It is going back home. Besides her job being a pain, she has to deal with the perverts on the buses. Every time she takes public transportation, there's some problem like that. From the moment she leaves work until she gets home, it's tense moments. That night, she noticed that a man was watching her. He kept staring with a real maniac look on his face. But she avoided looking and was anxious to get off the bus and get home safe and sound. Then she reached her bus stop. Her house was about 1 kilometer from where she got off, so she had to walk that whole distance alone. She didn't like that because it was very deserted and there was no one to pick her up. Then she realized that the same guy who had been staring at her was coming after her. She started to get terrified and quickened her pace. She hears him behind her, matching her pace. Her heart was already racing. She had never seen that man before and was sure he didn't have good intentions. Then he managed to catch up to her and grabbed her arm. The young woman screamed and called for help, but no one came. No one from the neighborhood showed up. Then the guy saw something and she managed to break free from the criminal. She didn't stay to see what it was and ran away from there, managed to get home safely and locked herself in. It took her a while to recover. As soon as she could, she called the police to report what had just happened. The next day, when she leaves the house and walks down the street, she sees a crowd and becomes intrigued. What's going on over there? Did something happen? And when she got closer, she saw the man from the night before turned to stone. The locals kept wondering who put that statue there. Could it be some kind of autistic intervention?
She knew it wasn't any of that.
Somehow the guy was petrified. Maybe it was that thing that showed up. Something supernatural turned this trash into stone. The young woman didn't know, but it was actually a supernatural entity known as Medusa. It is believed that this spirit belonged to a young woman who lived about 300 years ago and died as a result of abuse. When she arrived in heaven, she said she didn't want to enter and that her purpose would be to stay on earth and bring justice. So her spirit remained here, confined to the world of humans. And now whenever she sees a woman in trouble, she steps in and petrifies the lousy abuser, casting her curse. A rocky layer forms where the skin would be, but the inside remains organic for a few days. And little by little, the petrification progresses until only rock remains. So, my friends, if you like this creepy story, leave your like and comment down below, alright? I'll stop here, bye. Late at night, a boy is sleeping peacefully in his bed, when suddenly he's woken up by a strange noise. He thinks it's a relative coming into the room, but when he focuses his eyes, he sees it's not. And again, he hears the noise. But this time, he can tell it's coming from under his bed. He screams, calling for his dad, who quickly comes into the room to find out what's going on. Then he says there's something under his bed and he thinks it's a monster that came to get him. The dad thinks it's just the boy's imagination, right? But because of his insistence, the dad ends up bending down to look, and he's shocked. He sees his son under the bed with a scared look on his face. The dad is in shock and can't say anything. The boy under the bed says, "Dad, I'm glad you're here. There's something on top of my bed." The dad looks up once more. "So, Dad, what's under there?"
Did you find anything?
He doesn't understand what's happening. He grabbed the son who was on top of the bed, locked the door, and went to the couple's bedroom. The boy slept between them, feeling safer. The father couldn't sleep well because he had witnessed a disturbing scene, my friend. The next morning when he opened his eyes, there was a red mist hovering over his room. He realized his son was no longer there, and when he got up, he saw he had a serious wound on his chest. His wife next to him, the same thing. Someone had brutally cut them. He tried to wake his beloved, but without success. With great effort, he went to the boy's room and unlocked it. He saw that he was sleeping under the bed, and he woke up. "So, Dad, what was on top of the bed?" The father is paralyzed. He doesn't know what to say. He just keeps thinking that he took the wrong child the night before and put him in his bed. Later at the hospital, it was found that one of his kidneys had been removed and parts of his wife's liver as well. An investigation was opened to find out what happened to that family, but all they found were questions without answers. There were no traces that led the authorities to a perpetrator. Something similar happened to another family in that same city. They reported that the woman and her mother had parts cut out and that the perpetrator looked like the 6-year-old daughter. To this day, no one knows how or when this thing will appear and steal parts of a person. One night, a man was in his cabin getting ready to sleep when he suddenly heard the door closing. He went to the window and saw his son Geraldino walking in the yard. Strange, what is he doing awake at this hour? He called the boy, but he didn't answer. He kept walking until he reached the edge of the yard. When he got close, he touched his shoulder. "Dad, what are you doing here? I should be asking you, why aren't you sleeping, Geraldino?" And the boy can't answer why he's out there. The next day, the same thing happens, and the father intercepts the boy at the door. "Where are you going, my son? I heard a call coming from the backyard and I need to go. Who called you, my son?" "The talking rabbit. And what does he want with you?" "He lives in a hole in our backyard. He invited me to visit his world. He said it's a fantastic world and that he's already taken several children there. I'm the only one left for this adventure." "Son, you were dreaming. Go back to bed and sleep." After putting her son to bed, she went out to the backyard and soon approached the bushes by the fence. She heard a rustling in the leaves as if some animal was hiding. And when she parted the bushes, she saw a hole about 30 centimeters in diameter. He thought some animal was making a path through his backyard. He grabbed a shovel and threw dirt to cover the hole. Geraldino must have seen that hole and started making up these stories in his fertile imagination. That's what his father thought, right? So on the following night, around 11:33 at night, he went to his son's room to check if everything was okay, right? And to his surprise, he wasn't there. He went through all the rooms and there was no sign of the boy. He soon remembered the boy's story. He ran to the backyard, and when he got to the bushes, the hole was open again. But now it was a meter in diameter. He became desperate and started crawling into the hole looking for his son. He doesn't know, but his son fell into Siren Bunny's lair. That's right, this creature looks like a normal cute bunny, but when night falls it goes hunting.
It usually appears in small towns.
It looks for a neighborhood with plenty of children and digs tunnels into those people's yards. Its face opens up and a siren is exposed. With its antennas, it picks up the exact location and emits a hypnotic signal at the target. Only children can hear this frequency, and there's no way to defend against it, my friend. The only way for the child to get out of this trance is if someone from outside intervenes, right? That's how it manages to lure several children into its lair, man, and once they go in there, it's over. Gertrude is very sad because her kitten Floki has passed away. He was already very old and died of natural causes. But Gertrude was not resigned to the departure of her companion. On the day she went to bury him, she was very upset with God for taking Floki away from her. Then she shouted bitterly towards the sky, demanding an answer. Curiously, she sees something up high. She thinks it's a plane or a bird, but it isn't. It was a notebook. Soon it falls to the ground and she runs to see what it was. Did it fall from a plane or a helicopter? She picks up the item and it says Life Note on the cover. She had already heard of Death Note from the anime, but Life Note seemed like a bad joke someone was playing on her. However, who could have done this? Right at such a delicate moment for her. So she opened it, and there were some instructions on how to use it. The holder of this notebook can bring anyone who has died back to life simply by writing their name and picturing the person in their mind. Still in disbelief, Gertrude took the life note, put it under her arm, and went inside the house. During the night, she couldn't sleep, so she got up and started looking at the notebook. She wrote her pet's name just to test it. What could it hurt, right? And when she finished, nothing happened. Of course, nothing was going to happen, right? She felt like a fool. Out of nowhere, she heard a meow coming from outside her house. When she opened the window, it really was Floki. My God, how can something like this happen? She hugged her little pet and was very happy for his return. Flock came back from the dead in an inexplicable way. But for Gertrude, that was what mattered, that he was alive again. The next day, Gertrude wakes up and smells something strange. It's coming from her kitten. He might just be very dirty, so she gave him a bath. He was clean and smelling good. The next day, she woke up to a strong stench again. Floki was smelling like a carcass. He probably rummaged through the neighbor's trash, and that's why he stank. She gave her cat another bath, but when she put soap on his paw, it fell off. That's right, my friends. Gertrude realized her pet was decomposing. He had come back to life, but in a dead body. In the middle of the night, she heard screaming coming from her parents' room. She woke up startled and went to check. They had been attacked. The animals she knew didn't exist anymore. It was now a zombie beast thirsty for human brains. After all that, she was forced to bury it again. And with him the life note.
Hello, my friends.
Imagine you're taking a swim in the pool, just relaxing, and suddenly the water starts to change color. It turns red. And after 10 seconds, you realize that the water that was there actually turned into blood. Thomas was a 14-year-old teenager and was in his new home. He was happy to have moved to a more spacious house, and the best part, with a really cool pool. He would chill in the sun on his float and read his favorite manga, until one day, something happened. His dog, Dentada, started barking. He told the dog to be quiet because he couldn't concentrate on his story, but the dog kept barking. He was focused, looking into the pool when the boy noticed the whole pool was red. How did that happen?
Did something fall in?
Did someone pour some chemical in the water to make it look like this? And when he touched it, he realized it was blood. He had to paddle with his hands to reach the edge and call his parents. But then he saw a shadow underneath him. It looked like a creature. He got even more desperate to get out, and suddenly, a giant tentacle emerged in front of him, dripping blood. Right after that, he was struck. His dog Dentada didn't know how to swim, and all he could do was run inside the house barking, trying to get Thomas's parents' attention. When they realized something strange was happening, his parents went outside and saw everything just as before, except the float was punctured and their son's favorite manga was at the bottom of the pool. They looked to see if the boy had drowned, right? But there was no sign of him. They called for their son in the backyard, but there was no trace of the boy. That was the last time Thomas was seen. After that, strange cases started happening, with bizarre creatures appearing from puddles or pools and attacking people. It is believed that Red Pool is a supernatural manifestation that can appear anywhere there is water, carrying out its attacks and feeding on humans.